This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, welcome to WCM's Park Update, and I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Our show today is sponsored by Spot Tonight, and my esteemed colleague is here, Mike Gast, president of the EMEOLA Group. And
got it.
Yeah, so we got that one. And our guests today are from OHI. We have David Bassler, the Chief Strategy Officer of OHI, and Jacqueline Gloria. Jacqueline, you just told me the title and I completely forgot it. So what's your title, Jacqueline?
VP of Operations.
VP of Operations. And for people who don't know, OHI used to be the National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, but they rebranded in November, and now they go by OHI. And I guess, that's part of the reason we wanted to bring you on, was just to talk about the rebranding. And I guess, how long had that been in the works, I guess, with the rebranding, and why was now a good time to do it?
It had been in the works since 2022. We worked with a number of conversations with various industry leaders. We had, as part of the process, we had what we called the core brand team, which had a balance of campground members on there. And when I say a balance, I mean, large campgrounds, small campgrounds, single park owners, multi-park owners. We tried to get the broadness of our membership represented. It also had a supplier. It had a state executive. So there was on that core brand team was a mix of people who had all different perspectives from the industry. And we worked with an agency out of the DC area that had a lot of experience working with nonprofits. And we went into the process with kind of a blank slate. I mean, we knew we were going to be rebranding, but we didn't exactly know what that would look like. Would it be the same name, just different, a different appearance? Would it be a totally new name, anything in between? And through the process, we got to where we are today. And I'm happy to talk about the process too, if you want to know more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, what was the, I guess maybe kind of the process to come up with OHI? I guess, people are so used to hearing RVIC, National RVIC, having the RV campgrounds in there. I guess, what was that process like?
Well, the process in a nutshell was a series of deep dives into what at that point, the RVIC brand meant to people in the industry, what their connection to it was. And we did that through surveys of members, interviews in person and over the phone or over Zoom, with members, with non-members, with, every aspect of our membership. And one of the things that stood out to us that got us to the OHI name eventually was that in that surveying process, 80% of people who responded said that they didn't fully connect with the name RVIC in some way, shape, or form with their business. And a lot of that came from the fact that their business was evolving with the evolution of the camping consumer. They were feeling like, my business is more than just an RV park, or my business is more than just a campground. And we're seeing that more and more in the industry. And so what came out of that research that the agency did for us was that we should potentially look at a new name that was more inclusive of the broader industry. And they gave us, what was it, Jack? 3 or 4 different proposals on different names.
Yeah, it wasn't immediate. Ben, that we landed on OHI. We had quite a few,
Yeah.
but part of the reason the process was so long is that we did so much discovery behind it with the core brand team and with kind of weeding out what it could be. And it's funny when we think of Arvik now and some of the things that came to light. We heard ARVC and RVAC. So, in addition to not necessarily resonating with the name, we thought it was a good move once it came to light that OHI was an option.
So, David, talk a little bit about the initial reaction you got from members of the old association.
I think overall the reaction has been very positive. There's obviously people out there who are, for whatever reason, not in love with the idea, but we knew that was going to be the case. Look at the data that I just threw out there a minute ago that 80% didn't connect. When we make a change, you have to assume that 80% are going to connect with the change and 20% probably are going to have some issues. And that's about what we've seen, I would say, is pretty fair when we talk with people. I would say 8 and 10 are very positive about the change. And we get very constructive feedback from the other 20%, I would say.
I will say, I had a lot of people contact me and we're a little, and I think, when we were at the meeting there at the end of the OHCE last November, the member meeting, there's obviously some people who vocalized that they were afraid you were moving away from RV parks and campgrounds and going to be focusing more on other aspects. And then you guys came back, I think like a month or so ago, and kind of reaffirmed that RV park and campground in your mission statement. I guess, is that something that you're hearing from people? Is that they're just concerned that you're moving on from the RV parks and campgrounds and focusing on other areas, I guess?
It was something that we were hearing from members in the beginning, and we wanted to address it. Of course, the board wanted us to address it as well by amending the mission statement. But even when you look into our governing documents and our articles of incorporation and our bylaws, our core membership, our constituent, has always been and always will be RV parks and campgrounds. They are our primary focus. Their success is our primary focus.
Well, obviously, you made this change so that you could expand your horizons a little bit and get into other areas. Does that include the glamping industry and everything from outdoor retailers and some of those other vendors? Is that where you're headed with this?
I think on the glamping side of things, Mike, there are businesses out there that are in the outdoor hospitality space that focus their efforts on glamping accommodations and don't associate themselves with being an RV park. Campground maybe, but not with specifically the term RV park. And I think those businesses will find to be more of an attachment to the OHI brand than they would have with the Arvik brand. So I think there is room for expansion there for parks that consider themselves a glamping business, but want to be involved in our organization. And obviously there's a glamping association as well. And I would say, just like we do with our state associations in our industry, that business is going to find more, the most value being a member of both, probably, because both associations offer some sort of value to them. And it's going to be in some cases different value. In terms of retailers and other aspects of the outdoor industry, I think that there's an opportunity there to do things that benefit the industry as a whole. When it comes to retailers, I would look at that as an opportunity to maybe drive some non-dues revenue, right? To make it so that it's more affordable for a campground to become an OHI member by us having some sort of partnership with a retailer. Sure. Is that retailer going to be a voting member of OHI? No. But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't have conversations with them about how we could drive ultimately more business to our campground, RV park, glamping, whatever it is, business in the outdoor hospitality space. The one thing that I want to make really clear off of what Jack said a minute ago is that our constituency has and always will be RV parks and campgrounds, and those are the only voting members of our organization. So if we're talking about a group, an entity, or whatever it is that doesn't fit that classification, they're never going to be a voting member of our organization.
Yeah. I guess have you guys engaged? Have you guys are you guys exploring any like partnerships, or have you engaged with like the American Glamping Association to see what you guys could do together on that front, or is that just they're kind of their association and you're kind of your association, I guess?
Nothing has come of it yet, but we've had multiple conversations with Ruben and Dave Corse over at the Glamping Show about ways that we can work together, and that would be a great thing, I think.
Yeah.
The more that entities in our industries can work together, the better.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
What about resources? Is there going to be more people added to fit the new brand? Do you need more resources along with the new brand to accomplish your goals?
I don't know that I would necessarily say need, but we are always looking for opportunities to increase the value proposition of membership. And there's a ton of our resources within our Learning and Resource Center and within our portfolio as far as best practices and web ADA compliance and toolkits that kind of fit that glamping side of things. There's been a bit of a natural progression too with RV parks and campgrounds to explore safari tents and Conestoga wagons and alternative accommodations. So those resources have naturally evolved.
Yeah.
Mike, was your question specific to are we going to grow our staff?
Partly, yes.
The way I read the.
Usually, when I've seen brands change like this, there's expansion in the works.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why we did what we did is we expect to see membership growth out of it because there are so many outdoor hospitality businesses out there that are not currently members of our organization. So, I would answer that as we grow, our staff will probably grow as well.
Now, the model for RVIC was always strong associations with the state associations around the country. Is that going to be maintained? Are the state associations still going to have that same role that they used to?
Yes, we still value all of those state associations across the country, and we recognized when we were going through some of these processes that regardless of a state association's relationship with us, previous or current, that we're all working together for the shared benefit of the industry. What's changed is how dues are going to be collected. The financial tie has changed, but our support of those state associations and advocacy and public affairs and marketing their state events, things of that nature remain the same. We're going to continue to work with them for items that advance the outdoor hospitality industry and benefit the members directly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we will tackle some more of those questions when we get back. We have to recognize our sponsor, Spot Tonight, and we will be back in a minute.
Supercharge your campground bookings with Spot Tonight, the #1 commission-free OTA for RV parks and campgrounds. Through integrations with top property management systems, Spot Tonight displays real-time outdoor accommodation inventory with a marketplace where campers can search for and instantly book campsites. Best of all, it's 100% free for operators. Visit partners.spottonight.com to get listed and unlock access to over 60 million campers.
Hi, welcome back to WCM's Park Update, and we are talking with Jacqueline Gloria and David Bassler from OHI, and we're just talking a little bit about the rebranding, and I know right before the break we were speaking a little bit about the state relationships. I guess just to back up a little bit, we got a release like I think about a month ago where you guys mentioned the process for changing to become a member of OHI. I guess can you give us you may have already spoken about a little, just the impetus for that, I guess. Why was that needed? Right now. So
I think one of the biggest parts of it is that we really wanted to give members the choice of what suited them and their business the best. We hear at the national level sometimes people who say, I really want to join OHI, or people who are at the state level and they really want to join their state association but don't want to be a member of OHI. Or formerly ARVIC. And we offer a ton of benefits and resources that suit those businesses, but so do the states. So giving member choice was a driving factor in why we did what we did.
What's
Any concern that that's going to change the overall flavor of the membership?
I don't think so.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of new bodies coming in, and you've given people that may not have seen the value coming up to the state level an opportunity to stay on the state level but not be a part of OHI.
I jumped in there and said I don't think so, but actually I'm going to amend that. I do think that it could change the flavor a little bit, but I think it's in a good way. I think the businesses that are out there that we haven't had in the membership before, I think are primarily independent park owners that, range between the smallest parks up to, let's say, 200 sites, probably somewhere in that range. And there are a lot of those parks out there across the country. We have our own data. I've seen data from other organizations that range with the private park count being somewhere between 9,000 and 13,000 parks out there. We've got 3,000 of them right now in our membership. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think the best part about that, as we start to grow our membership and bring some those parks in, is it just makes being a member so much more valuable to parks that have more opportunity to bounce ideas off of other parks and learn best practices from those parks and have all of those networking opportunities that right now an OHI member, we're talking about 3,000 parks versus I'd love to see us have a membership of 9,000 in a few years, and I think that's completely possible. I really do.
Not only the increased networking opportunities, but the larger the membership, the bigger our voice is going to be in DC on the behalf of our members, the more collective buying power we have for the benefits that we offer, like propane and music and things of that nature. So growth is good for all.
Those are great points.
Are you afraid? Okay. Are you afraid that there are going to be?
I'm not afraid of anything, Ben.
Yeah, I know. We're not afraid of anything. Are there going to be park owners out there that have to decide between state and national? OHI membership. Are you afraid of those choices where maybe they don't want to pay for both, or they can't afford both? Are you afraid that either hurts the state association or OHI? I guess.
I don't think.
Well, we would have the.
Go ahead, David.
No, go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think afraid is the word. We have an obligation, just in the way that state associations do, to prove the value of being a member at the national level.
Yeah. Does that? I get, and this is somewhat from feedback. I went to the Carolinas Association. David, were you out there, or I wasn't?
I wasn't. Jeremy Carr on our team was there. Yep.
I hear things from park owners, not just at the Carolinas, but I get feedback, and you're just, are you afraid of competing against state associations? I know that's some of the feedback I'm hearing, and I imagine you must be hearing some of the same feedback.
I'm not afraid of it because, like we said early on, my goal is to.
Maybe that's not the right word choice, but
well, whether it's the right word choice or not, whatever word you use, I don't think it's as much of an issue because, like we said at the onset of the call, our goal is to work with state associations, work with other organizations in the industry, as long as we share a common mission which is advancing the industry, right? There's no reason why we shouldn't work together. And our position has always been, even with states that have associations that weren't partnering with us previously. If someone called us or we were in a conversation with a campground, let's say from California, right, not a partnering state, one of the first things that we would say to that campground is you're going to get the most value out of being members of your state association and the national association. It's just the fact of it is that we both offer things that are of value to the campground member. Now, is a campground going to look at those things and say, well, I use more over here than I do over here, and so this year I'm just going to do this membership instead of both? Sure, it's going to happen. By all means, it's going to happen. But our goal is to work with states to have those campgrounds join both. For the next year anyway, our membership dues are not changing. So when it comes to making a financial decision, if they were in a state where they were paying one amount and getting a membership in both the state and the national previously, the financial on our end anyway won't change that equation. Now it's up to the states to determine what they want to charge, but again, that has to do with what value you're getting for that dollar amount, and ultimately the campground will make the decision what they get the most value out of.
So under this new structure, and this is probably pointed at Jack, but under this new structure, what's the recruitment look like now? Again, I talked a little bit before about adding staff and putting a new emphasis that you must have a higher emphasis on new membership.
Did you want Jack to answer that or me?
Yeah, I guess I thought with operations that would probably be under her. I mean, is there a higher emphasis on getting out there and recruiting new members?
There is a need to recruit new members. We have plans in the works for recruiting new members, but keeping our current membership base happy is equally as high a priority.
Yeah. So you have I think one of the questions coming out of OHI too was, you have the rebrand, I guess. And obviously as you expressed earlier in the show, the rebrand was needed because people felt like they weren't relating to ARVIC, as the National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds previously. So this helps with that, especially as we're looking at glamping and things. But does this come with a bigger push towards that recruitment, I guess, than maybe before? Or is there a different way that you're approaching recruiting than maybe before with the rebrand?
I think with both the rebrand and the model change, it opens up opportunity to approach those, call it 6,000, maybe more, parks out there that haven't been members of ours previously. So will we be going after those parks that haven't been members? Heck yeah, we will. And we're going to be out there showing our value and hopefully getting some of those parks to say, yeah, I want to be a member of that organization. They whatever value that we offer that appeals to them most.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to a national organization, we're, and the value that OHI provides, the investment, and I use the term investment more often than I do the term dues, because it's an investment in your business, right? It's money that you spend that you hope to get an ROI out of. And we think we offer that ROI in lots of different ways, but when it comes down to the investment itself, it's a very small amount of money. A 100 site park, their investment annually is a few $100s, about $300. When you look at the value that they get for that and that money spent, that more often than not pays for itself with the use of, one benefit, let's say, right? If it's a park that takes a music license, that park is saving a lot more on that music license than $300 if they had purchased it through the pros directly versus using the OHI discount through our organization. So, that's just one example, but that it's a very small investment for the amount of value that a park gets.
So does this change the look of the national annual meeting? What they're going to see there, what they're going to do there?
Well, it'll definitely change the look of it because of the new branding. They saw a little bit of a hint of that in Kansas City, right? Once we announced the brand. But when it comes to the plans for this year's show in Oklahoma City, we like to one up ourselves every year, and I think this year is going to be no exception. It's going to be a different show. We're gonna be changing the schedule so that there's more direct expo time as one example, because that's some feedback that we got both from attendees and from exhibitors that they wanted not only more time but more quality time on the expo floor. Our hosted buyer program continues to grow every year, and that's going to be part of that. But on the breakout session and keynote panels and those kinds of things, we're going to be focused a lot on those in terms of quality over quantity, because we want people to come to the show and walk away with multiple takeaways that are memorable. It's just like with our members who are out there providing experiences for campers. Our job at the annual conference is to provide an experience for them.
One of the things we always ask people who are on the show is, especially when we have like state association executives on, is how man, I lost my train of thought. This is what happens when you get old. The development groups, investor groups are coming in and buying more parks. You got these larger groups that are buying more parks, and that's kind of impacting their membership to some degree and their ability to recruit members. I guess, how does that work for OHI? Are you noticing larger groups like Sun Communities and stuff? Is it harder to recruit some of these parks because they're just general managers of a larger group, I guess?
I wouldn't say that it's harder. We have a great relationship with corporate entities, both big and small, and we are seeing more and more of what we call multi-park owners that are smaller kind of conglomerates coming into the scene. Not nearly as many as we saw toward the end of COVID in 2021, but we strive to provide them the same resources that we do every individual member, one and the same.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been amazing.
That's one of
the growth. So, go ahead, David.
Ben, one of the things I would say to that is that's one of the advantages that Jack mentioned our resource library earlier. That's one of the advantages that parks have when it comes to that resource library, because an independent park that is let's say 40 sites is going to have a lot different needs than a 300 site corporate park. But one of the advantages that comes with an OHI membership is that resource library and lots of the other benefits that we offer kind of cover all the bases, right? We have stuff that is valuable to small independent park owners, and we have stuff that's valuable to large corporate parks as well, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to what does the particular business that we're talking about need, what their challenges are, and how can we help them find solutions.
Yeah.
So David, I've been through a few of these reorganizations in my time. Usually it comes with a pretty aggressive goal. What's the goal for OHI as far as membership by the end of the year?
Well, by the end of the year, it's we would be focused entirely on the direct, what we currently call direct memberships that are not in partnering states, because our partnering agreements with the states go through the end of this year. So the numbers this year look a little different than the numbers next year. Next year, I forecast a lot more growth than I would this year as we start to ramp up and introduce the brand. A lot of this year is going to be introduction of the brand to parks that maybe have not previously heard of Arvik even, but especially haven't heard of OHI yet. And then in 2025 is when I forecast the growth. And like I said earlier, there's 6,000 at least, I think, parks out there that we don't have. I'd love to see in the next 5 years that we have a good chunk of those and are able to really make a strong impact on the benefits side and on the advocacy side. Jack's comment earlier was spot on when it comes to the strength of voice. There's so much legislation issue out there with parks at the state level and at the national level. And the more voices that we have in our corner, the better it is for everybody.
So, David, you mentioned you're in Ohio right now for the show that starts tomorrow. What's
My home state.
Yeah, well, you're one letter away from spelling it on your jacket there. What's your presence at a show look like now? Is it different?
I don't think so. I mean, my role here tomorrow is I'm giving the keynote at lunch. We would oftentimes do that anyway, and it's an opportunity for us to speak face to face with members, and we'll have a presence at the expo, which has not been as frequent in the past, but it's an opportunity again to be face to face because you have limited time up on stage. So if people had questions about the rebrand or the new model or benefits or anything, we thought it would be a good idea to have a presence at the expo where they can come and we can have conversation about that, one-off. So we're going to be doing a lot of that at the shows, at the state shows this year, especially. That I would say would probably be the biggest difference. Yeah.
Okay.
David's our self-proclaimed data man. So anytime we get an opportunity to share market intelligence and all the industry reports that we work so hard on, it's great. But really the face-to-face time and getting to share the benefits with members, that is what we do at every state show that we go to, whether we're a speaker or an exhibitor.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap the show up here. If anybody's interested in learning more about OHI, they can always go to OHI.org. And you guys have a brand new website, too, that you guys launched with the rebranding. And it's colorful. It has videos, lots of pictures. And it's a nice website. So, but if anybody's interested in becoming a member or learning more, they can go to OHI.org. And thanks, David and Jacqueline, for coming on the show. And David, I hope you have a good, safe trip back to the Denver area after the Ohio conference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Looking forward to the show the next couple of days. Ohio's always a great show.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll talk to both of you guys again here soon.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Join us for a new show each Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.